It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're in Long Beach today, and we are joined by Jeff Kellogg. He is a member of the Long Beach Community College District. But Mr. Kellogg has been involved in Long Beach politics for decades, literally. Elected to the Long Beach City Council when he was 33 in 1988. Is that right?
Yeah, don't say it that way. Yes,
well,
that was true.
I mean, here it is.
Yeah,
you still look
true.
great. And then the Long Beach Community College District in 2002. Talk to us about what you've seen in Long Beach, one of the biggest cities in our state.
Well, a lot of changes in many ways. Growing up in this city, when I was first elected to the city council, you said I was the youngest member, and that was not viewed as an asset at that time. It was very different. And then after 12 years there, to be elected to the community college board in 2002, a school that I attended as a student in the 1970s. And so when people ask me, the changes are that the demographics of the city, economically, ethnically, things of that nature.
Yeah, give us a sense of Long Beach in the 70s and 80s.
A much smaller city, under 300,000.
And now it's over 500,000?
500,000. The economic level of the city, I would say probably 50 to 75% were middle or upper income families.
What about in terms of ethnic diversity? Were we seeing substantially Anglo or?
Primarily white, and I was a student at Jordan High School.
Right.
And there was probably a limited number of Hispanic, Asian, and black students.
And today at Jordan High School?
It's the reverse. It's a minority of white students would be there primarily. It's a majority minority community. And that was the big difference. But what I also said to people is that regardless of what people look like, they still have the same dreams, the same wants as they did in the 1970s when I was attending Long Beach City College, and that is still true today. They're there at Long Beach City College because they are trying to make a difference in their lives through education. And that's commendable.
But how does Long Beach jump from 300,000 when you joined the city council, presumably around 300,000 at that time?
It was a little bit larger than that, but the answer to your question, which is good, was all housing policies. It was all about density, and they removed homes and replaced them with 4 units instead of 1 unit. You saw that citywide, and they didn't address the other issues at the time. So whenever you have more density, you have to have more amenities such as parks, public service, things of that nature to accommodate more people, and it really didn't happen. And those are the issues the city council, and I'd like to think I did leave the city council better than when I arrived, but those issues are still there for them to deal with.
You mentioned Long Beach City College, and I want to lump in Cal State Long Beach, because back in the 70s and 80s, I think it's fair to say those institutions were fairly sleepy. Is that fair? I mean, fine institutions, but today they both are considered first in class. Long Beach City College is considered one of the finest in the entire community college system up and down the state. Cal State Long Beach is now, I mean, I think it got 80,000 applicants last year. Yeah, incredibly.
It's very different. And then when I was entering college, this Long Beach State, mausoleum on the hill. It's not sleepy or dead now, that's for sure. And Long Beach City College, the same way in the regards of the needs for community college back then was mostly for transfer. But one thing that hasn't changed in the community college system, the master plan that was developed in the 1960s, is community colleges just not deal with transfer. It also has workforce development, helping people with their careers, economic development, which actually Long Beach City College is at the forefront more than most municipalities.
I was actually had the good fortune to cover a supplier diversity fair for the cable industry, and at that event was, I think it's Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
And Goldman Sachs has a partnership with Long Beach City. Was it the 100,000? What is it?
For jobs, it's the 10,000 jobs. And
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs working with Long Beach City College.
Right.
You have that. You have the Kauffman Innovation Fund of America. So those are all in areas. The missions for community colleges in California is transfer, it's economic development, it's workforce development. It is and vocational training.
But how have you? Because even back when you joined the board in 2002, I feel as if those students that started at LBCC, this is a generalization, tended to be maybe second chance students. Today, it's just not that way. There are plenty of students that are starting at community college because it's close to home, it's more affordable, they can get the classes they want, now that we're on the other side of the recession. So how have you adjusted in that vein?
And that's all true. And that is really the high school with ashtrays that used to be with community colleges as well.
Well stated.
It was a second chance.
Right.
But really there are a lot of students, even back when I was there. I mean, I attended Long Beach City College for a multitude of reasons. It wasn't I was a second chance, but I was actually a very good student. My folks were pleased. But it really is now where it has to meet so many different needs, and the biggest need is the fact many students arrive in community college unprepared for the academic rigors, and that's one of the challenges for students that want to transfer or any other area.
And I want to ask you about that, because that has been one of the great challenges for our community colleges, is literally these students enter without the most basic English and math skills. They need tremendous remediation, and these may even be students that aren't, quote, you know, again, I don't want to be pejorative, but second chance kids. I mean, these kids that look like, you know, on paper that they were in a pretty good place.
But still, that has been the area where 70–80% of our students arrive with their English skills, their mathematics skills, their writing skills are not college level, and that's where we had to send a lot of our resources, because what that does to community colleges, and Long Beach City College in particular, Long Beach City College, which is anywhere from 26 to 30,000 students.
It's huge.
It slows down their educational process, and they end up, instead of a 2-year institution, which is traditionally what we're referred to, it becomes a 5, 6, 7-year.
And what about students that may arrive with English language skills that are not where they probably could or should be for someone entering college? Either they're new to the country, they just didn't perfect their skills in growing up in maybe an insulated community. How has LBCC adjusted to that reality?
Well, because we're a Hispanic serving institution, that reflects
and
our
that's a designation,
community.
actually.
That is.
It's an official designation.
We represent the community, and that's where you suddenly have to put your resources. You shift your resources around to accommodate your students, because, and it's an overused term that I don't like, and that is it's always for the students. A lot of people use that term, I think, ineffectively, but it really is about the students.
And has the institution, and generally all community colleges, gotten to the place where merely lacking proficient English has nothing to do with intelligence?
Not at all. I mean, I will tell many people that their English is a lot better than my Spanish. And I'm in a family where everyone in my family is bilingual except me. I mean, but
I feel as if, you know, in the olden days when we were younger, you know, there was this connection that if you didn't speak English well, there had to be a lack of intelligence. And I presume we're on the other side of that.
Without question. I mean, our student population, what we have here, and we talked about it earlier, when you get an opportunity and about seeing beyond the Long Beach boundaries. And I'm very fortunate because, as you know, I work for a company that I work for community colleges throughout the state of California. So I get to see a lot of colleges as a professional, and then here I am as a governing board member at Long Beach City College. You see where Long Beach City College, what we do extremely well, and we do service our community. So
when we talk in 5–10 years, what are we going to be discussing?
Hopefully I'll be here in 5 and 10 years to discuss it. But I think what you're really looking at, and when I arrived as a board member in 2002, the one thing people did ask me about, what's the difference you see or don't see? And the one thing that we have changed since then is through the help of the voters, and that's the construction bond, where it physically has changed. We now have facilities that truly reflect a modern educational institution. When I arrived there in 2002, that campus at Long Beach City College on Carson and Pacific Coast Highway was exactly the same physically as when I was a student. It hadn't changed at all. The students changed, the demands changed, but the facilities, and that's one of the big things. So I think in 10 to 15 years, that whole process will be over. And then you will see how a modern institution, but the challenges in 10 and 15 years are going to be much different. And when people ask me about it, we talk about dealing with communications with the millenniums, the generations from my children. Very different. They don't call you, they text you.
Do they ever? His name is Jeff Kellogg. He is a governing board member with the Long Beach Community College District. I'm Brad Pomerance in Long Beach. It's Charter Local Edition.